notification. Hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for Circle Sanctuary's Green Faith Circle. I'm Reverend Char Bear, one of the Circle Sanctuary ministers at Circle Sanctuary, and we have several of our members from the Green Faith ministry who have joined us on this call today. I'm going to ask each person to introduce themselves in a moment. But Green Faith, we are a registered circle with GreenFaith USA, and we're really committed as people of faith and people of conscience to speak truth to power about the climate crisis in particular. We respect and appreciate the intersectionality of the climate movement, and it really is a movement because we're in some climate wars at the moment. We actually are. And part of what I was trained to understand is that the climate movement is not just, it is an environmental movement, but the solutions are not just technological, as some may say. This is a spiritual and moral movement, which is why a co-movement like Green Faith is calling out faith leaders, people of faith, people of conscience to step up and use our voice to speak truth to power, because too long now, the moral compass in public discourse is being set by people who accept an acceptable burden, an acceptable risk is profits over people and the planet. And we need to reverse that moral compass in a big way and do it quickly. So I want to welcome Reverend Amy Brooks, who is a Unitarian Universalist minister serving with Green Faith as a community organizer in the United States. And in her present role, she focuses on climate finance and supporting groups as they build their Green Faith circles. She's on the board of UU Justice Ministry in North Carolina, and she's board president of the Mecklenburg Interfaith Network. She finds much joy in being outdoors, from gardening to hiking and biking, and she lives outside Charlotte, North Carolina with her husband, daughter, and 2 dogs. Welcome, Amy. And before we get to you and hear from you, I want to also acknowledge Reverend Selena Fox, who's a high priestess and senior minister for Circle Sanctuary. Selena, what is it that is on your heart today as you come to this circle this morning?
I'm so thankful for this opportunity, not only for our part of Green Faith Circle to come together and connect with each other, but very thankful that Amy is here, and thankful for Green Faith in its various forms. I was at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago and this past August, and was able to interface with Green Faith people there. Thankful for Green Faith and its international work with Rainforest Initiative. And so I'm thankful for us gathering, and I'm also thankful for the opportunity to share some information as well as ways to collaborate, to have people from many different beliefs come together to work for a healthier, sustainable planet. Thanks.
Thanks, Reverend Selena. Reverend Judith, what is on your heart this morning as you come to our circle?
Well, thank you, Char, and Amy, thank you for being here. Great to see you, Selena, as always. My heart is really broken at this point in time. I feel such pain and anguish for all of the displaced people, all those that have lost loved ones, all of those that are suffering from the damage being done to their homes and our lands and our water and our air. And my greatest hope is that we are going through a birth period of tremendous change, and that we will come out of the other end of this canal into a better light of a better world with peace, prosperity, and enough abundance and clean air and water for everyone. That's my prayer for today.
Yes. Nicholas, what's on your heart and mind as you come to our circle this morning?
Hey, everybody. I have a sort of a new angle here that's come to me in the last 20 minutes or so. This past week, I've had my nephew's son, who is 11 years old, sort of experimenting with the idea of helping me with my gardens and home at age 70. Having help is a really nice thing. He's a really smart kid. Now, only a small number of people have seen the inside of my house, but those who have see that it's really festooned with sort of an interfaith theme. There's a lot of Buddhist and pagan things, but really quite a diversity. And so during this week, my nephew's son, always inquiring, always asking, and he just looks at me and he says, "You're spiritual, aren't you?" And if I don't start crying, that's really powerful, because all of the things that we're talking about today are on our shoulders with regard to that very question. Climate migration, conflicts in the world, they're all a part of shifting away from fossil fuels and accommodating the reality we face in this change. And so I was dumbstruck when he asked it, because all of these thoughts start racing. Yes, you're a kid. We're doing this for the future, and you're one of the people that populate that future. So this work is really profound and urgent. So,
Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, and Janet, good morning. What's on your heart and mind as you come to this circle today?
Just the conflict that's going on in the world, like people being displaced, their homes destroyed. That's why I haven't watched so much of the news, because the images are disturbing. And I do think about our world, that what am I going to leave to the next generation? And I hope that I'm leaving it better, that a lot of on the way to work, I pass up it's like a train depot, and it's just like great big huge clouds and smoke. Is like, what is that putting into the air? What are we breathing in? What's it putting into the water? How does it affect vegetation? It's a concern. So I'm hoping that maybe over the next few years that there'll be a solution to that. And that's what concerns me.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, I recently got an electric vehicle, and my day job is working as a healthcare chaplain on a mobile team that goes all over the Monterey Bay area, and I'm very aware that I'm driving along now and not having to pollute. I had a hybrid before, but it's amazing, and I'm very grateful for that. And I know that what's on my heart and mind primarily as I come to this circle this morning is this resolve, this absolute resolve to use my voice. I've been a communicator all my life. I have to use my voice to speak truth to power about especially shifting away from fossil fuels and stopping, turning off the tap. That's killing us most of all. And that's destabilizing so much. And I remember a year ago, it's very much on my mind because we're recording this in October. We're coming up to Samhain. And a year ago, when my son was home after he had announced to me that he wants to go into the U.S. Marine Corps, probably be a logistics officer who plans how to go into disaster areas and figure out how to extract and stabilize and do those things. And he was talking about how to take the Morrigan seriously as a particular energy or force that is wildly destructive and transformative. And so that's very much on my mind today as I think about him and worry about him and wish him well. And Nicholas, you talk about the next generation, and the next generation is carrying a lot of those hard choices for us as well right now as we speak. So the stakes are high, and I'm mindful of that personally and globally. So, Reverend Amy, we're going to turn this program over to you, welcome you to share what's on your heart and mind as you join us, and then you have some updates to share with us that we look forward to hearing.
Thank you so much, Reverend Shar. And thank you to all of you who are here with me on the screen. I love hearing about your thoughts and I'm grateful for all the incredible work that you're doing in your various communities. My heart goes out to the Muslim and Jewish communities all around the world. And this conflict is one of many that are happening. It is grabbing our attention now, but I think we all know that there are problems happening everywhere, and they bubble up from time to time. This one in particular is grabbing everyone's attention because it is so terribly difficult to watch and think about. But the reality is that there are problems happening all around the globe. War just escalates or emphasizes some of the problems that we have already in other places. Lack of access to good housing, clean water, clean air. These are the kinds of things that people want in their lives. Education for their children, a future for their children. And so the war emphasizes how that much of that is being cut short, but the truth again is that it's happening everywhere. And the climate crisis has helped create that, and it will continue to exacerbate it, which is why it is so important that we do everything that we can to dial back, to stop. And so I'm so grateful for the work that y'all are doing, especially around the climate. I don't know if everyone is aware who's listening right now, but there was recently a wonderful march in New York City. It was the mobilization to end fossil fuels, and GreenFaith was one of the many players on that stage. We helped coordinate the Faith Hub, which brought people of faith from all around the US together to march to say to President Biden in particular that we want him to stop permitting fossil fuel projects, that this must end. We don't need any more fossil fuels. What's already been pulled out of the ground is more than enough to send us over the 2-degree mark. And so we need to stop continuing to excavate, extract, and exploit both the earth and people. It's going to kill us. Indeed, it already is. The other piece that happened as a part of that was a bunch of actions that occurred all around, both before and after the march, that focused a great deal on many of the financial centers in New York City, because let's face it, not only do you need permits to drill for fossil fuels, but you also need money. So the pressure was being put on financial institutions, the big banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, and so forth. Also Vanguard and BlackRock, investment operations that help also develop and invest in fossil fuels. So all of these were being targeted. And then the beautiful march that happened to send a wonderful message to say that we are united in this concern and we are united in our request that we need to stop. So I thought what would be fun would be to share a little bit from that march, because not all of us got to get there, myself included. So I thought I could share a few things from that and then give you some opportunities to put your faith and your passion for this work into action. So what I'd like to do is share my screen and show you some slides and a couple of videos. And then I'll walk you through a set of slides that also show some of the options. And then at the end, I have a link that I can drop in that people can open up or copy, take a picture of it. If you are just viewing this as a video, you can take a picture of that link and call up all of the links. It's a link with all the links in it that allows you to open it up and see all the things that a lot of the things I'm going to show you and give you access to the ways to get involved. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see, share sound. Yes, okay. I think we're in pretty good shape. And I wanted to start with this beautiful community celebration image. We had a call to celebrate this, so I'm using the slides from that call. In fact, it was just last night, as you can see, but I wanted this image is just such a great image of the march and the various kinds of people, different ages, different religious backgrounds, who were marching together to say that we have no faith in fossil fuels. And because I'm sharing my screen, I just want to make a note that I can't see if somebody's waving at me or telling me something in the chat. So you'll have to speak up if you need me to stop, go back, slow down, or change something.
Actually, I'll just ask that people hold their questions until you're done. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I was thinking more if something started not functioning properly and I didn't know it. Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. Okay, so this beautiful image, no faith in fossil fuels. Here is a video from an action. And I will say up front, we were laughing. It does actually create rather a lot of smoke, which is a little bit ironic given what we're doing. But the idea was, we're burning up the planet, we're burning up our money, or burning up our economic system. So they wanted to go with that visual. But I will admit at the get-go that there's a fair amount of smoke in here. But the action is beautiful. So this was, I think it might have been in front of Chase. A group of people from GreenFaith got together with some other faith leaders. And this is the video.
When the fires burn as the seas rise, not in our name, we say not in our name, we say not in our name.
Right now, the already rich are igniting this planet for nothing but profit. Our Earth is not for burning.
We demand that you put an immediate end to new fossil fuel project. We light these fires.
Blaze another way.
To blaze another way. Not in our name. We say not in our name.
United in spirit, love in action, for climate justice.
So that's an example of people coming together to make a public statement. And on the celebration call last night, we had a chance to hear from some of the people who were there and how powerful it was to have an interfaith group taking this kind of public action. So moving on, we have another video of the larger march itself, and then a few pictures, but I'll start with the video here. And isn't she adorable? Protect Mother Earth is what her sign says. So I'll also play this one.
Let it be clear, let us not be deceived. We're here to fight organized greed. We want to end the fossil fuel industry.
So that gives you some really in-action visuals. I have a few more visuals to share with you. I'll go through those quickly. Whoops. Oh, I'm going to skip this. Whoops.
Hi, my name is Allegra.
Sorry. Here are some actions that took place not in New York. These are out on the West Coast. These are circles that William is working with. I cannot tell you which is which. I think one is in San Diego, one is in Portland, and one might be in Seattle, and there might even be one in LA. But as you can see, we have different faith leaders engaging and coming together. This is how people showed their support. They stood in solidarity with what was happening in New York. GreenFaith East. I would just note that one to the right of your screen. That is the indigenous name for Mount Hood. So this is the Portland group. I just get so inspired by these different kinds of groups coming together to speak out and speak up and be public about what's happening. So we have different ways that people can support the work. One way that you can support the work, if you haven't already done so, is to sign on to a faith letter to President Biden that says "End fossil fuels now." And what I'm showing you, I'm going to give you the link at the end that will actually give you access to all of these. So if you aren't able to write down, say, that bit.ly link quickly enough, don't worry about it. It's all going to be in the link with the links. And I love this picture in particular because the woman in the picture with her head wrapped is from North Carolina, and so she went to New York, and I was like, "Hey, I see you." It was very fun. Another way that people can begin to get involved is to attend an upcoming starter program interest call. This will be on November 2nd. You can see the times. And this starter program interest call is where we will introduce a curriculum that we have created for community groups and congregations. It focuses on faith. It's grounded in faith, but anybody can use it. And we didn't specify it to a particular faith, so you can choose readings from the collection to ground the program. But it takes you through 4 sections, each one 90 minutes. The first one is making the connection between why people of faith should care and climate justice should care about this issue. Sometimes when you talk to folks, they're like, "Oh, but there's so many other problems in the world. Why climate justice? Why should that be central to what I care about?" So it introduces that idea. It then digs into the way that the fossil fuel industry has been lying to us and really makes very clear the connection between what the fossil fuel industry has done and is doing and climate change and climate crisis. The third one centers frontline communities and how we can be in solidarity with them. And then the fourth one helps you start your own GreenFaith circle, or if you already have a group, you can affiliate with us. And part of the reason that we want to do this is we want to give people, of course, a way in that feels pretty easy that they can do in a program that helps them fit it to their own community. But we're also really trying to bring people together. There's so much work happening, but sometimes it feels a little siloed. We believe at GreenFaith that if we come together, we can be more powerful if we're united. So if you are interested in learning more about this starter program, come to the interest call. We also recognize that sometimes our feelings are so overwhelming that it's hard to take action, and we need to create the space to grieve all that we're losing. And so one of our staff members, Chelsea, will be leading us in a virtual grief circle process. These are the first 2 dates. The link will be will be shared at the end. But this is another opportunity for ways to people to get involved. We believe that if we are able to access our grief and our anger, it also gives us the motivation to cultivate resilience and hope. We also want to announce, we're just starting this. Last night was the first group. You're the next group. We are going to do Face for Climate Justice event again. Instead of doing it in the fall like we have the last couple of years, we're moving it to next spring. And so it's going to happen over a range of time so that people can pick the time that works best for their community. The reason that we have chosen this sort of time frame is it includes at the beginning part of it, at the end of April, the general meetings that banks and asset management companies have. And lots of times people like to stage public demonstrations around the time of what we call the AGMs, and then goes through May 13th so that people have time to plan this after a lot of high holidays will happen in April this year. So we didn't want people to be stressed out and try to do something right at the end of April unless it fit with their community, but to give people a little bit of space to then do it maybe the following week or even the week after. And we've done this before. We've had really great response. People all around the world get involved, from Indonesia and Africa to Canada, United States, Central and South America, Japan. It's a really great time to see different people showing their spirit and their love for the planet. Let's see what else we have. That is the end of my slideshow. So I'm going to escape out of that and stop sharing. Whoops, stop sharing, come back to all of you. And I think I have the link with all links right here. I'm going to drop it into the chat now. If you open that up on your own computer, you will be able to go through and access all the links to sign up for the starter program, to sign the letter to Biden, to join the climate grief circle, and have information about saving the date. So that gives you access. And we really believe at GreenFaith, again, that coming together is what makes us strong. And we want to give people the tools to do that in their own communities. As you well know, since this is also a virtual space, it's wonderful when we're grounding in our community, but it's also really important to come together and feel stronger together. So thank you for the opportunity to share all that's happening at GreenFaith. I hope you found something there that inspires you to get involved with one of our programs or to take something back to your community.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amy, for that. And again, this particular group with Circle Sanctuary Circle is registered as an education group. It's a virtual group nationally, but that is the hope, is that you will take information, including links like this, back to your local groups, groves, circles, congregations, and help to activate them, help to educate and motivate them to get involved, and they can become their own GreenFaith circles as well. I also want to just mention, Amy, that Circle Sanctuary, being the most established and largest nature-based faith community in North America, has wonderful things. Selena Fox right here has written and offered so many things that might add to the curriculum for people, because it's often hard to get pagans to be as comfortable being public because of stigma or backlash. But we're here in force, and we do have wonderful things to offer curricula and other groups. So, Selena, did you want to say something about that, maybe, or Judith?
Well, we have some things on YouTube. We were doing a ceremony for Planet Earth at the Parliament this year, and we're hoping to get that video up later this year. And we have the video that we did when the Parliament of the World's Religions was online a couple years ago, and you can go to YouTube and check that out. We also have some information about our Earth Day observances, as well as some videos, both at the Circle Sanctuary YouTube, as well as the Selena Fox YouTube, and of course, podcast. And I'm so thankful for the Blue Marble podcast that you coordinate, Reverend Shar. And that's been another way that we have been able to do some education. I have a monthly podcast called Circle of Nature, and I have a number of environmental activists podcasts that I've done over the years. So our Circle Sanctuary Network podcast archive is at our website, circlesanctuary.org, and that's another resource for material, not only for education, but for spiritual ceremony. Thanks.
Judith, did you want to add anything? If not, Amy's got something else to add. Yes, Judith.
I can. I can hark back to what Janet said in our little pre-meeting, in that everything that we say or do to help, whether it's I've got 30 migrants living in the church across the street, anything that we can do to give them clothes or some donations of food. I teach nature spirituality services 3 to 4 times a month. So the more that I can talk to the people that I'm teaching about how important each and everything that they do is, even if it's the smallest thing, every little step makes. And if it's just one little conversation that we have with each other, if it's just picking up trash, everything counts and everything builds to the larger whole. So keep going, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Amy, what did you want to add there?
Yes, I almost forgot, but it's really kind of important. As you mentioned at the beginning, I focus on climate finance, which really is, climate finance is a word or a set of words that mean a lot of different things to different people. The focus that I'm taking right now and that GreenFaith is taking here in the US is to put pressure on banks and asset managers to stop funding, as I mentioned earlier. But that can be hard to do. You can do a public action, but what are things that you can do personally? And so what we have developed through the leadership of one of our circle leaders, Michael Richardson, with the Rivers and Mountains GreenFaith Circle, he has created a program that helps people divest their money from banks and credit cards and insurance companies, and even your 401k monies from fossil fuels. This is a process. It is not something that you just do and you're done and it's easy. It's not hard. It just takes a little time. So what we've done, based on what Michael has started, is create a climate finance circle. And this circle is a group of people working together to create a curriculum that we are going to be hopefully pass out in the new year that you can do with your group, that helps you go step by step. Start with your bank, then move to your credit card, then move to your insurance company, and then end with your asset management if you are lucky enough to have assets. And so the idea is that you build a group of people who want to do this together, because it's always more fun when we do things together, and we can also help each other with our questions. So what I wanted to drop into the chat here for you is the link to sign up for the Climate Finance Circle. Anyone is welcome to come to a meeting and learn more about what we're doing and see whether this is something that you want to fit into your calendar, or if you have a group of people that you would like to lead through this process. So that is something that we're very excited about, and we hope to build this to the point where we can start also including and working with groups around the country that are not just doing their own personal finance, but also working with their faith communities, because every faith community has a bank account. Some of them have endowments. Where is that money being invested? That's the critical question. So would love to talk with anybody who's interested in that topic. Anytime you can sign up here, and I'll be sending out information. Thanks.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah. And things that we as a group might look at reviewing curricula like that ourselves to disseminate to folks. So other thoughts, other comments, folks?
I'm definitely going to join the finance group. I think that's a great idea. And yeah, I like the idea of working with some of my friends. It's like, let's all get on board and share ideas and one step at a time. You can only do so much. And when we're talking about finances, it's a huge bugaboo. So, every little bit helps. And if we've got friends along the way, I love that, Amy. Thank you so much.
I want to add on here too, an easy thing to do. I'm always saying this. I'm not a Johnny One Note, but I'm a trained and certified climate reality leader. So I'm the intersection I have is in that space as well. and lead a chapter in the Monterey Bay in California. And one of my colleagues at Climate Reality created the Climate Action Now app. Sorry, but digital activism is something we learned in the pandemic, and it's been really useful when you want to mob response. And if you sign on to or download the Climate Action Now app, you can use it for free. It's a different platform, so your information is not being sent out into cyberspace. It's protected through a separate portal on that app. Climate Action Now app. And if you go under campaigns right now, there's a whole section on climate finance, and there are hundreds of actions you can take just on that. So again, if you're overwhelmed, getting involved with the actionwork.org, joining the U.S. Climate Finance Circle is one thing you can do. Taking digital action is one thing you can do. We've been working at home on divesting all of our loans from banks to credit unions, starting to shift credit cards to, I love credit unions, but figuring out how to do that personally, which is a process. Yeah, thank you. Other comments, folks?
I'd like to offer an insight. As I was watching your videos, Amy, their peek into a lot that's happening. One of the things I saw was the reflective aspect of these videos. In my own work, I'm doing a lot of look back at history, and it's really clear to me, like the civil rights work, women's rights work. It's a long process. And today in 2023, a lot of people like myself and young people, history is important, going back and looking at history, not covering up history, becomes an inspiration to continue the work. And so when I was watching those young people and old people in their actions, I was just saying, doing this video work is critical, because it's an action for inspiration today, but it's an action for inspiration for 10, 20, 50 years from now, because this whole thing is big and long. So it was really good to see those particular clips. And I'm going to look at other clips with that lens, in addition to other stuff that I do. Thank you.
Well, that makes me feel better about the work we're doing here, and I agree with you there. It's an important record, but it's also, again, we mentioned in the pre-conversation we had before we started recording, I rely a lot upon Yale Climate Communication. They're an excellent survey research group, and we were just saying, Janet, because you brought up something about your workplace, that less than 37% of the population in North America have one-to-one conversations about climate change, let alone climate justice. And yet those are the most transformative conversations we have. Doing big public actions, direct action, marches. These are things that build solidarity. They build community. They're motivational. One thing Greta Thunberg said is, those things alone are not going to suddenly make fossil fuel CEOs wake up and have an altruistic awakening and go, oh gosh, yeah, you're right. I guess we should change business as usual. That a lot of also what GreenFaith is talking about that we need to be focused on is disrupting business as usual for them. And we do that with our consumer dollars and with our ballot box. Those are ways we vote. And so looking at that to disrupt business as usual is also a part of it. So all kinds of video records of what that means are important. Amy, did you have any last thoughts you wanted to share with us for this particular recording? The work is ongoing, of course. And then if not, we'll go ahead and do our little checkouts.
Sure. I think to remind folks that COP is coming up. And I think part of our, thinking about moving Face for Climate Justice to the spring is to name that, as usual, we expect it's not going to be successful. You know, that we get together at COP and there's supposed to be all these promises, and sometimes they make them, but then nothing happens, or they back out of them, as many of the banks have with their promises to stop investing in fossil fuel. So that's coming up, so pay attention. I think different groups will probably be doing different things. I think GreenFaith is going to focus more on building towards Space for Climate Justice in the spring. And I just invite all of you to be thinking about how you might want to participate in that in your community. We'd love to have your solidarity at the end of April and the beginning of May.
Amy, I have a question for you about that, because I know a lot of faith groups, being 501c3 tax exempt organizations, are afraid to venture into the land of politics, although we have more leeway than we think. Is there going to be any aspect of what GreenFaith is doing that is about protecting democracy? A big theme that came up of Parliament of the World Religions, I just need to contextualize this, was a rise against authoritarianism, because that's also one of the most threatening things that takes away representative democracy. It takes away our ability to fight for justice. So is GreenFaith going to be addressing that in any way?
I think that the way we address it is twofold. One is to stand with the communities that are most impacted and help their voices be heard. And the second way is to just partner with our local communities that are doing the kind of ballot box work. We don't have a big enough staff to really, in our opinion, make a real difference to that. We did do one campaign a few years ago and it was fine, but what we learned was that's a whole area that there are other people who are really expert and we're not really expert. Like we may know individually, but in terms of having the infrastructure to really support. So what we do is things like take the day, like sometimes we give staff the day off to go out and just do ballot work or voter work, that kind of thing, and just encourage our communities to reach out and partner with organizations that actually are expert at that. The third thing actually is we just invite people around the time of elections to notice who's paying attention to climate issues. Are they even talking about it? Ask your possible elected representatives what they think about climate change, what they are doing or are going to do about resilience for their communities. Great question. Thank you.
Well, I can see where it's time for us to start to close this circle. I want to thank you again. I want to invite everybody as we close, we'll go around and check out, to really think about how your nature-based, how your green faith, as you understand it, really is speaking to you as you hear about the planet, see these images, are aware of this very vibrant, immediate current issue. What's coming through? What's coming through your spirit as we close this circle? And Janet, I want to invite you, if you like, to share first.
My green spirit is to keep loving the earth and doing all the little things that I can do for it. Like recently in the past year, I especially tying things to trees, and I had a little tree and I was tying ribbons to it, and it just totally went over my head that there are chemicals in that ribbon that will kill the tree. So that was a bit of a bitter experience, like, well, don't do that again. So finding something else, or to just not use them at all, or don't let it stay there very long. Yes, but I've often, when it comes to plastics and things, it's like our social security cards. They're made to disintegrate. And what I don't understand is like things like food packages. when they're thrown away, why aren't they made to disintegrate like the paper our Social Security cards come from? What kind of fibers are they putting in it that causes it to do that? And why can't we do that with food packaging, especially in our landfills? That it would go back down into the earth and become a new product again. I love plants, but one of the things the Coca-Cola company does, and it's made from their bottles, they're like little spouts, like a watering spout. And the Coca-Cola company makes them, which I now have them. And I just sort of stumbled across that, and I started reading the packaging, where they come from. So they do fit on like a lot of water bottles and stuff. So actually, instead of throwing the water bottle in the trash, if you have plants, enjoy the water and then turn around and use a little water spout in the same bottle. Keep it from going to the landfill.
Thank you. So thinking about repurposing and of course, plastics and petrochemicals are a big derivative of the fossil fuel industry. So that's a great reminder. Thank you. Yeah. Nicholas, what about your green faith is coming through?
I'm going to kind of blend this into two pieces. First, I really appreciate what you said, Amy, about this idea, kind of scope or focus or skill or budget. Each of us doing our piece. There's other people better at other pieces, and we're good at our piece, or that kind of thing. I really appreciate that idea being said. And so, I have my spiritual green thing going. And at the same time, and this again is about these videos, I really appreciate that we've begun to do these videos, Shar. They're enduring and they're available. And the other thing I'm doing is I'm spending a lot of time on the international stage in social media, looking for people who are talking about these issues. Who are they? And their faces, look like our faces, old and young. Some have other focuses, but there's plenty of green, pagan, and other faiths working around the world. And so I like the idea that not only do we speak to ourselves, but when a viewer comes along from some other place and says, oh yeah, like what those people are saying, that's really one of the things that happens. And so our field is approaching it from faith and the green energy side. So I just really feel satisfied with these videos and this work that we're doing. So there you go.
So share them on beyond our membership, forward them. Yes. Reverend Judith.
Yes, I agree, Nicholas. I'm very, very proud to be a part of all of this. And to talk a little bit more about recycling, how important it is. I personally want to recycle my body when my soul leaves this earth, because as we have also talked about in this hour, things take a long time. And hopefully I'll live quite a long time, but when my time is done, I very much want my body to have a green burial at Circle Sanctuary. And that kind of ties into my final thought, which is that I believe that everything is interconnected. And as the First Nation people say, what we do to ourselves, we do to our Mother Earth. And so I end my part here with a prayer for peace and prosperity, and that all those who are suffering the worst of the devastation right now come out of it with the light and love, with as much as we can send to them through the ether. We send you blessings.
Thank you, Judith. Reverend Selena, what's coming through your green heart?
I really appreciate that we are doing environmental education and motivation and collaboration on a variety of platforms. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity to have a way to share our GreenFaith Circle meetings with an even larger audience. And as I reflect on our GreenFaith Circle over time, as well as our session today, I recognize that at times individuals and groups can feel really overwhelmed at just so many things that seem to have gone unhinged, being chaotic, a lot of trouble, and a lot of conflict. And yes, the planet is still heating up. Our climate is still heating up. So what I close with is, on a personal level, I invite not only those of us here live, but those who tune into this later, to strengthen connections with one's own way of communing with nature. Spending time in green space, to attune to it, and to have that be part of a spiritual practice, and to do some way of sending prayers, reflections, or meditation on the planet as a whole. So in addition to being in green space and knowing our local area, to also keep that global consciousness present. Perhaps have an image of planet Earth, if you have a home altar, to have that present. And I really do see that having a form of spiritual practice that can be strengthened through our environmental awareness and education is important. And when it comes to information, endeavor to do something every day if you can, or at least once a week, where you take, maybe it's even 5 or 10 minutes, and do some education to expand your own knowledge about what's happening environmentally here on the planet. And for those of you who are members of the Circle Sanctuary GreenFaith Circle, you know that we have this great repository on Facebook where a number of our members are sharing information. So that's a good thing. There's a variety of ways of getting that information about different things happening with the environment. And I think it's helpful, if you're on social media, to take a few moments and share, to boost the signal of some environmental education and motivation and action method and message. It doesn't take that long to just share a link and to really boost that signal. Optimism is a really important thing, and I really think we need to balance being informed about what's not working with attuning to nature, drawing sustenance from that, and expressing appreciation, but to also be hopeful and to connect with groups face-to-face, online, such as the Circle Sanctuary GreenFaith Circle, to actually have that community connection, to share information and to experience the power of individuals coming together to work for the greater good. So I'm very thankful for all the things that Circle Sanctuary has been doing and GreenFaith has been doing, and for others. And yes, spring is a great time to focus on climate action. As one of the people that helped with the birthing of Earth Day back in 1970 and continues to observe it every year, we need to have Earth Day every day and boost the signal on awareness, and to recognize that, yes, we can take action. And rather than just feeling totally overwhelmed by all the stuff that's not working, do something to take action to move it in a good direction. Wow, green blessings. Thank you, Selena. Thank you. Amy, I'm going to give you a chance to close with the thought about how is your faith? What is your faith, UU faith, telling you today as we close the circle? You're muted, my friend.
When you asked this question about our green faith, I immediately went to my garden and realized that now is the time in the northeastern part of the world, or the northern part of the world, where we are moving into winter. And so I just invite us to slow down, to find a time to rest, to go into the darkness where creativity happens, to lie fallow, and to gain the strength that you need. Spring will come again, but this is the time of year for rest and relaxation. And so I just invite you to kind of move into this period in your spirit and find the places that you need to replenish. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will add my 2 cents as we close. All the news, what's in transformation, what's breaking down, what we hope we break through to, navigating the process. A lot of the news about that is so human-centered because this is a problem we've created. This is our mess. We've been polluting the atmosphere like an open sewer for too long now. And a lot of the pressure is being focused back on individuals to somehow clean that up and make it work. But the perpetrators who are doing volumes of that continue to deny, deflect, and deceive while literally killing life support systems on this planet. So I keep that in mind. And I keep that in mind also with, I go to nature, as Selena was talking about, Amy just talked about that too, is like, I go there and I listen deeply in journeying, in prayer, and magic for what is the planet telling me. And the planet is going to go on. The planet's going to go on. The question is, as things break down, because they are, we're seeing civilization change and rumbling and all kinds of issues going on. Who's going to go? Who's going to be collateral damage because of the mess we're creating? That's what I always think about. The news is always talking about property damage and people. I'm thinking, what about the other, my kin, my animal, my flora, fauna kin that were there on Maui, that were there in that wildfire, that are there in that war zone. And so I'm always thinking about the natural kin who are alongside of us. And that's where my heart hurts, because they're innocent bystanders. And I tap in with that. And I mean, I do more than feel sorrow. I'm asking for forgiveness all the time for that. And I'm determined all the more to do my part as a person of conscience and faith to clean up the mess we've made while we have time to do it. There's no other right thing to do, in my opinion. And it takes all of us. We need all of us with everything that we do to help clean up this mess. Thank you to all of you again. This ends another episode of Green Faith Circle. Thank you for all the good you do, each and every one of you, every day. It's the way, and I'm always happy to see you in the green space. Until next time, blessed be.